Welcome back to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a truly fascinating sociological puzzle, the Japanese marriage paradox. We're going to jump right into how rigid economic realities are literally reshaping human behavior from the ground up. Okay, let's dive into this. Why don't Japanese women get married? Demographers and economists have been scratching their heads over this for years, especially with global birth rates dropping like a stone. But here's the thing. The answer isn't some massive cultural shift away from the concept of family. It's not a sudden loss of traditional values either. Actually, it's a fiercely practical and honestly, highly unexpected economic survival strategy. To really grasp this crisis, we've got to split the picture right in half. We absolutely cannot treat all women in Japan as just one big, monolithic group. It's kind of like a giant puzzle. We have women with rock-solid careers on one side, and then women in part-time or unstable jobs on the other. And here's the kicker. Both groups are arriving at the exact same destination. Neither is getting married. But they're being forced down two completely different roads to get there. Let's start with that first road, the career woman's dilemma. This is the stark reality facing women who have successfully climbed the professional ladder. We're talking about doctors, lawyers, and established corporate professionals. The absolute key takeaway here? They are making really good money. These women have navigated a hyper-competitive educational system, put in the grueling hours, and achieved complete financial independence and self-sufficiency. And that brings us to a really fascinating shift. She just doesn't need a husband. Think about it for a second. Historically, marriage was often this necessary economic safety net for women. But for these highly successful professionals, that financial incentive is completely gone. The basic economic drive to marry has literally been erased by their own success. But, it goes way beyond just not needing a partner. If they do pursue marriage and start a family, they face what's known as the total downgrade effect. Imagine spending a whole decade building a lucrative legal or medical career. Right, so first comes the inevitable career break from marriage or maternity. The second that happens, intense workplace pressure kicks in, subtly signaling that, your commitment is suddenly in question. Then, the immense demands of childcare pull you even further away from an office culture that's famous for its long hours. Until, finally, the job is just gone, or your upward trajectory is permanently derailed. It is a brutal sequence of heavy blows that systematically dismantles a hard-earned professional life. It's quite literally a total downgrade. And to be clear, this isn't about a failure to multitask or some unwillingness to commit to a relationship. It is pure, calculated economic reality. For a successful woman operating within this specific system, getting married and having a child mathematically equals losing her income, losing her status, and losing the professional identity she worked so hard to build. Purely economically speaking, it's just a bad deal. Right, so let's completely flip the script now and look at the total opposite end of the spectrum, the part-time worker's trap. For women working in unstable, part-time, or low-paying gig work, the mindset is entirely flipped. As the source highlights, they actively want marriage because it equals financial security. In this situation, marriage isn't a downgrade at all. It's deeply desired as an essential economic lifeline, a lifeline required just to escape financial precarity. But if this huge group of women actively want to get married for stability, why aren't they? Well, that brings us to a massive societal roadblock, the disappearing stable men. The mechanics of this trap are incredibly frustrating. You see, the golden era of guaranteed, lifetime corporate employment for men in Japan, that's largely fading away. It's being replaced by way more contract and temporary work. So, while these women desperately want to marry to secure their financial future, they simply cannot find partners who make enough money to provide that security. The desire for marriage is absolutely there, but the matching economic opportunity? It just isn't. When we zoom out and look at the macro picture, we uncover the core irony of the whole Japanese marriage landscape. Now, what's really interesting about this core irony is how it ties everything together. Here it is, the more successful a woman is, the less likely she marries, because it destroys her hard-earned career. But on the flip side, the less financially secure a woman is, the harder it is to marry because there just aren't enough financially secure men available to partner with. Both extremes of the economic spectrum lead us right back to the exact same demographic outcome, non-marriage. We really have to strip away our Hollywood notions of love here. In this environment, marriage becomes about survival, not romance. Marriage in Japan has completely transformed into an economic survival strategy rather than a pursuit of romance. Intense systemic pressures have stripped the romantic elements right out of the equation. For the career woman, avoiding marriage is survival. She's protecting her livelihood and her independence. And for the part-time worker, seeking marriage is survival. She's trying to secure her basic needs. Both groups are basically engaging in a pure, pragmatic financial calculus just to navigate a highly rigid economic system. So, what happens to a society when marriage is reduced purely to survival, when the fundamental building block of family creation transforms into a calculated economic defense mechanism? The long-term demographic impacts are just staggering. It's a really sobering reality that challenges everything we assume about relationships and economics. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.